Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be doing another challenge review between Papa J and Robert. The maps we're going to be looking at today are Skate Park Square and then maybe also Fun in the Sun if we have time. Skate Park Square is actually one of the maps that I first reviewed on this channel back when I was still improving at the game before I started doing well in tournaments and whatnot. It's a bit of a tricky one. There's a lot of emphasis on kind of improvisation as well as mechanics, with kind of like an underpinning of strategy that's pretty important. Um, Usually, the most swingy spawns that go one way or the other are up top because someone has a super jump or has a good line with a super speed and the other player does not, and that can lead to situations where it's like 100 to 0% of the spawn, which can be pretty swingy. So if you're up top, you're cutting a lot of your downside out because you're most likely going to be able to get something of the next spawn. However, if you are on kind of the middle layer of the map, you can potentially spawn next to a blue or have a blue spawn next to you, rather. And that can make things pretty swingy as well. So if you're down and want to gamble, usually the bottom is a good place to be with the super speed, so you can get around the map quickly. And if you have a lead, you want to protect your downside, and usually being up top is pretty good, or having a super jump on the middle. And the bowl spawns aren't really worth that much. So we're going to look at what Papa J did here from his perspective. This is, again, one of Robert's best maps. He's really good at it. I don't really know why in particular, but he just seems to have a good handle on what to do here. So we're going to watch, and I'll give my thoughts on what both players maybe could have done better. It's a 5-minute map, so it's a bit of a long one. Okay, first spawn up top. So this is important to know where the power-ups are. I believe there's a super jump behind one of these pillars over here that should be an easy grab. I highly recommend playing with power-up radar on. There's a super speed that went back there, but yeah, that's not going to work. That was something I thought maybe could be attempted, but just not having the height. And this is exactly what I was talking about. If one player gets a super jump and can get up there and the other doesn't, pretty much the entire spawn goes their way. John gets a little bit lucky here with the spawn being right below him and having a Mega. Mega is one of the power-ups I would definitely not recommend defaulting on this map. It's very hard to get up top with a Mega compared to something like a super speed or a super jump. There's not really a lot of opportunities to do that, and it's such a wide open map that it's hard to make contact with your opponent. If you do manage to make contact with them, it's wide open and you can knock them to the other side of the map if the PQ gods smile upon you, but that's pretty unlikely to make work most of the time. Gyrocopter is pretty meh for similar reasons, because if you get a bowl spawn, it's just not going to do a whole lot compared to super speed, and if you're up top, a super jump is going to be faster. So it's kind of like the worst of both worlds here. Let's look at what he did to Path within the spawn here, because getting the gems here is good, but personally, once I'm in this pit, I like to just stay in it with the super speed. You can see Robert cut the spawn early and caught out John while he was doing power-up prep, so the spawn's going to go to Robert. So already a bit of a mistake there, instead of just making sure he had the super speed still. Let's see if he could have done anything better with the routing here. Yes. Okay, so you really want to have this super speed in your hand before you pick up this last red. I know technically it's not the last red at this moment, but if your opponent has a super speed, it's actually in their best interest to go get this other last red and kind of surprise you. There is a super speed right here, but the blast did delay a lot of the time it took to get the super speed. So you're actually 1 second behind where you would have been otherwise, and 1 second is basically the lead that Robert has on this double yellow for you. Okay, once again we have Mega here, and this is like Not a good power up to have. The far corner blue spawns, and we have no way of getting over there. And you can see once we get this yellow, like, there's no sense of what are we doing next, you know? There's a Mega in front of you, but Mega is just fundamentally, like, not a good power up to have on this map. And there's no point in looking at this yellow. Like, you've already decided to sack this yellow and give that half of the spawn to Robert, and you did pretty well for the spawn, right, John? It was like 5 points, 6 points to Robert, and like 4 to you. That's fine, considering he had a small lead. What you need to be thinking about is, where am I getting a super jump or a super speed? And the answer is on the right over here. So it's over here. There's a super jump and a super speed, and a blast, ultra blast. We haven't had ultra blast yet. Guess what? Ultra blast is better than Mega on this map, because you can have a wider range of effect, and knock people off course when they're trying to do their skill shots. And so Robert is probably going to smoke you on this spawn. Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't get knocked back there. Okay, so you're gonna get the blue. Really, Robert should have gotten this blue, I think. Because, like, there's no way, even if you don't hit this, you're going out of bounds. The blast you picked up on the way ended up helping, though, which is nice. Or did it? I don't even know if it mattered. He's already going out of bounds. Okay, this is good. That's fine. I mean, this worked out for you, but really what I would probably be doing here is, instead of picking up this red, there is a Ultra Blast back this way. Let me change my color for this map. Red. Ultra Blast over this way. If we just kept going, there's one next to a super jump, and that's kind of a good way to get your blast back. This 1 point is not really worth blast in most cases, I would think. That's what I would have done. Obviously, it works out for you, but it's kind of results-based analysis. I mean, this spawn could have been anywhere. Okay. Once again, Ultra Blast has respawned. There's an Ultra Blast, the one that you picked up on the way in here. You can see it in the back, right? And so we need to be thinking about this Ultra Blast as part of the spawn. If we have Ultra Blast advantage over our opponents, I mean, the points value varies from map to map, but I mean, let's say expected value from having the blast is like 2 to 3 points, maybe even more, depending on if we can make mileage. Now, we still have to realize that gain, but if we're pathing effectively, we should know by our map knowledge that this Ultra Blast is here, and we should be pathing like it's part of the spawn. So we go up here, grab the yellow, go down and get the Ultra Blast. So what is this? This is 1, 2, 4, 5. We need to be thinking about this as like our 7 to 8 point chain here, that we have a lead over Robert. By not taking this, we are losing some of our advantage. Yeah, this is not the right red to go for. We do come around and get the super speed back, but we could have gotten the super speed anyway if we just got the blast. And if Robert did take it, there is like a plethora of power-ups on this map. There's a gyrocopter and another super speed further down the lane. So, like, you have a lead right now, but, I mean, from what I know, Robert does win this game. This is an example where you won the spawn, but you could have pushed your advantage further if you're John. And there are situations in this game all the time that you have a lead and then the next spawn favors your opponent. So you absolutely have to put your foot down on their throat when you have the opportunity to rack up the score, and this was one such opportunity. Regardless of what happens next, you could have Ultra Blast right now. Oh, and even better, Robert actually seizes that. So instead of you having Ultra Blast and Robert not, it's Robert who has Blast and you don't. So let's see if that kind of materializes into anything on the next couple spawns. Okay, Robert slows you down, and he maintained Ultra Blast advantage for himself by picking up the next one. Okay, this is good. Good line. We still haven't used Blast. Okay, there we use Blast, but in theory we should still have Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is just mechanical misplay. But anytime you have like a hard to shoot for spawn, or the next spawn is likely to require some sort of blast to be precise, you can't really afford to spend it cushioning your fall. It's kind of a luxury micro blast. Yeah, you don't really get to do this because it just requires so much precision from this snipe, and it's like only a couple people in the community are going to be capable of hitting that every time. I'm certainly not one of them, and I don't think you are either, Papa J. Okay, once again, we are defaulting Mega. This is so bad. It's like, who is going to get surprised? Like, what top player is going to be surprised about you having a Mega on Skate Park Square? It's like, it's not going to work. You need to change your approach. This is, sorry, I'm being a little bit, like, direct and personal in this review, but I don't think this is a good play. Because you have Gyrocopter and Super Speed that are both over here that can be taken. Having Mega, anytime there's a top spawn, you just lose. Like, you lose the whole thing. Okay, we get up here reasonably quickly. It looks like Robert didn't. I'm not sure what Robert had at this point. I think he used the gyrocopter. Yeah, he used this gyrocopter. Okay, so he has a super speed that he picked up. Although if I'm going to pop the gyro and pick up a super speed, I'm just going to commit my jump and blast to come up here anyway. And then I have, like, having a super speed while you're up here is, like, super strong. If you can pick up a super speed on the way up here or manage to get up here while still having a super speed, it's very strong because it kind of negates the downside of being up here, which is that, like, you have height advantage, but that's it. But if you can super speed from height advantage, then it's the best place to be on the map. The reason why I don't do it all the time is because it takes a lot of investment. Okay, this is fine. I don't like this. Picking up the last red here isn't great because we have a super jump. And if we're in the far corner of the map, the super speed outperforms the super jump by the most of any position on this map. One, we have this giant pillar in front of us, so we have to go around. We can't really jump over that easily. And two, the super speed distance advantage is most, like, large here in this far corner. Don't think Robert had the ability to punish us, though. Okay, this is fine. A little bit unlucky. Robert just has a better position on that, but not much she could do. This is another example where map knowledge, I would have followed through and got the Ultra Blast, which is behind this thing right here. Instead, you kind of come over here to the lip, which can be very dangerous. Like, if Robert has Ultra Blast right now, he could blast John into the pit when the timer is reaching 0, and then surprise him. But it's fine. Okay. I guess, like, what's the best case scenario of this Mega? Like, you already, like, John hit him, right? But, like, what spawn does this, like, accomplish more than having a super speed or a super jump? I genuinely do not know what spawn on this map could occur where this is, like, a good advantage over another power-up. I'm gonna keep harping on it because I really think this is, like, wrong, like, fundamentally wrong. There's a lot of maps where this Mega default can be a useful playstyle and win games, but I just don't think this is one of them. Pretty much the only situations that Mega wins here is, like, it's a bull spawn right here below, or like over here, or it's like this after Mega like makes contact. But like you have to make contact, and it's just such a big ask to do that on Skate Park Square that it's not good. Like Mega made contact with Robert here. The spawn was like reasonably close to where that happened, and Robert still wins, and we don't have a power up. So yeah, we're chasing. We're honestly, it looks like John is playing a little bit desperate here. Still got 2 minutes to go. Small mechanical misplay. Should have easily been able to get that yellow. So 4-point swing there. 2 from John going to Robert, so that's 4. Once again, we have this Mega. Oh my god. All that just to share the blue in the end. I'm trying to figure out. Okay, yeah. We're using Blast to cushion our fall, but like realistically, why? Right? Like, what does this accomplish for us? We save like less than a second by not bouncing as high. But you can see that if you just had that small amount of blast when this blue spawns, you don't need to Mega Cheese because you can just use the blast to get the blue because you have enough blast to stay afloat. Right, when we're flying in here, we can just blast. And since Robert goes out of bounds so fast, Robert gets the closer spawn. Okay, pause. What is Robert probably doing right now? Robert may have a power-up. He may not, right? Even if he might have a power-up, that's better than not having a power-up for sure, which is what John has right now. And so, if Robert has a power-up, it's in his best interest to pick up that last red because it's closer than the other one. Now, let's imagine that Robert has a super speed or a super jump, is getting the last red, and John is getting this further last red while not having a power-up. That's going to equal a several second advantage for Robert going to the next spawn. We'll see if John is punished for this, but this is definitely a smart last red. Yep, okay, so Robert presumably picks up the last red, and the next spawn is closer to where the Robert's red was. I don't know where Robert went, though. Like, where did you go, Robert? Oh, is that in the pit? Ah, I see. Okay, so not as bad then. I don't know if John was consciously thinking that, though. Okay. This is an instance where you think you have 5 seconds on the comp timer, but in actuality you don't because the last gem is a yellow. And it's exceedingly rare for other players that aren't me to leave a last yellow. So it's probably going to be cut the comp timer short. And so you don't have 5 seconds to prep here. We need to get a super speed in the pit, not go greed for this gyrocopter. Like, we're making, from John's POV, a lot of mechanical mistakes. Not mechanical, strategic mistakes. And we generally have not been punished by Robert here. But this is an instance where, like, a Frostfire or MBO would punish you heavily. Icarus, also those kinds of caliber of players. Okay. I hope by now you can see the problem with this. Like, we're just banking on the same cheese strategy over and over. And again, the top spawn comes, and not only do you have a Mega, you have to spend time lining up your jump waiting for the mega to expire just so you can make it. Meanwhile, Robert has a several second lead, gets both yellows, and starts actually getting the lead. That's just unlucky, but in general, the game should be much closer than it is. Okay, wrong red to go for. This is just a map knowledge thing, but we don't have a power up. It's pretty obvious here, but this red leads to a super speed, and this red leads to a mega marble. Which one is better? Okay, we actually got the gyro, which is like okay. Super speed still would have probably been better for the average case, but that spawn was not the average case, so it worked out. Unfortunate. Yeah, at this point, can't afford to make mistakes. Time's run out. Good try. Yeah. That's tough, because that's a 4-point swing here. And the gap is 6 points. So this was 100% winnable. Okay, that's Skate Park Square. I mean, in general, I just think a better strategic evaluation of the default is necessary. In addition to that, the moment-to-moment decision-making around whether to grab the last red and whether your opponent is advantaged by grabbing the last red definitely left some room for improvement. So that's something. And those are basically the main two issues. I didn't see really any situation where you defaulted a super jump. And there were moments where you had a super speed or a gyrocopter, but they weren't really maximized. Also, your routing within spawns could really... I don't know if it's like a map knowledge thing or it's you don't consider it part of the spawn routing thing to pick up those like Ultra Blast and other power-ups during the spawn. But that was another area that could be improved. Those are probably the main three things. Okay. Let's look at Fun in the Sun, since this is really one of John's better maps. It's only a couple of minutes. Papa J. Okay, first spawn on Fun in the Sun. It is the Lasharkus spawn. Should be pretty clear cut here. Grab the nearest super speed and send it. This spawn has a line where you want to go through these two yellows and then bounce off the shark fin and grab another couple reds. So let's see if that's done by either of our players here. Blast on the way in would have been nice, but not necessary. Yep. That's definitely good enough. Now, this is a map unlike Skate Park Square where Mega is completely viable. I will say, though, that Super Jump is very, very bad as a power-up to have in your inventory compared to Super Speed. So I would much, much prefer to grab this red and then get this Super Speed rather than picking up this red. We also do not have Ultra Blast here. I think the one over here has been grabbed by Robert, but there's also one back here that you can grab, especially with like 5 seconds after you get this first red. You're in control of what happens next. And the answer is you pick up this red with no blast and a super jump, you're going to be punished, hopefully, if Robert plays well. Okay, yep. That is a little awkward for Robert, but he eventually gets it. Oh no. Oh no. What are we? Okay, so we have no Ultra Blast. We have a Super Jump, and we have the last red being picked up. This is just sloppy. This is much worse than the other one because the other one is at least central to the map. You could argue that maybe you're going to get the blue on the umbrella or the blue on the totem poles over here. There is basically no spawn except for the repeat spawn with the blue here, where picking up this last red with a super jump makes sense. This is just extremely careless. Okay, that's fine. Nice little backboard there. Probably could have been a tiny bit faster, but again, not going to be punished here. Trying to see if you could have blasted Robert. Yeah, this is a good chance for you to use your Ultra Blast, I think. Over a yellow, it's a 4-point swing. Yeah, right here would be good. You'd basically be able to slam Robert into this, and then they'd go backwards, leaving the yellow open. What happened here? Okay, so Robert super speeded. Yeah, and again, if you knock Robert back and then pick up the yellow, he doesn't have a lot of time to react. You probably wouldn't be able to get this blue nearly as quickly. Are you allergic to super speeds, John? Okay. This is another map where the default is very unique that you were doing. Yeah, a little short. Having to commit the super speed there is definitely not ideal because we aren't able to prep for the next spawn. We have no power up. So that's a scenario where mechanical misplay ends up costing strategically as well. Mega's fine to have here. Let's grab the blast. Okay, good. Yeah, ideally want to be where Robert is right now when the spawn timer runs out. It's just more central. Robert's gotten 4 points. Okay, so this is a blast over essentially one red because you would like to get the other. Okay. Mega is not a terrible idea, but there's one thing that Mega can't do that Super Speed can, which is when you get blasted, Super Speed can be used backwards to recover and negate the effect. Mega is not doing that. And it's very common on this map in particular, since it has a central default with the Ultra Blast to have your opponent get it. And you'll see top players use the backwards super speed on these picnic tables a lot. That's kind of the main gameplay around this area, is trying to land the blast and trying to counter with well-timed super speed. So good blast by Robert. That's going to get both of the yellows for him. Black, okay. Not really sure what the strategy is here. We should not get this red. We don't have Ultra Blast, and we don't have super speed. So unless you can make contact with Robert before the next spawn happens, it's Robert's spawn. You just keep getting away with it. And Robert playing against a player named John should have better awareness. It's not easy. Like, it took me time to adapt to this style of gameplay too, but it is ultimately far inferior to the top level meta on this map. And maps in general, I should say. Backward super speed. Okay, think you were thinking about this, John, but yeah, ultimately tried to compensate and didn't end up doing it. Oh yeah, can't do that. There are pillars. Unfortunate. Oh no, no. This is like the most illegal last red in the entire map. Yep. That's asking to lose. Now, in your comments for this, you did mention that you just lost steam on Fun in the Sun. That is an example of what I would expect losing steam to look like, just making that sort of decision. Okay, this is good. Pick up the Mega on the way in. Perfect. That's how this spawn should look like. You are down at this point, but I don't think 10 points is enough that I'm going to pick up this red with no blast and no power up. And we know Robert has these things, right? Maybe not. Okay, he had Ultra Blast. Yeah, so big advantage for Robert. That's probably going to cement it. Okay, so we were down 10 points when John picked up that last red, right? The lead is now 13. With Robert still having tempo for the subsequent spawn. And so in this situation, yes, time is running out. But you got to pick your battles, and I don't think that one is ever really going to work out. That is a new strategy I haven't seen for the shark spawn. And at this point, yeah, the game is over. Okay. Lots and lots of sloppy last reds here. So that is definitely something to eliminate. Super jump default, very suspicious as well. So common theme for Papa J between these two games being looked at. Inconsistent defaults. I don't know if even inconsistent is right, as just inferior defaults. A lot of carelessness on the last reds. And yeah, I mean, that alone is probably making up 20 points a game. And maybe that's being underestimating. So, anyway, this was a good set to look at, I think. Hopefully made clear some of the consequences of what happened. There were a lot of spawns where a mistake was made and Robert was able to capitalize. And a lot of spawns where Robert wasn't able to capitalize, but you would maybe expect a top level player to kind of run away with that advantage. And that's, again, how you end up with some of the big margins when top players play kind of the middle tier of competitive. But yeah, that is Fun in the Sun and Skate Park Square. Hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you want to see next. See ya.